What's goody? Welcome to episode 2 of The Read Along. I am your host, Jamel C. It's your favorite country boy, reading and reviewing nothing but the latest and the dopest books to drop. I mean, we talking about books that's really contributing to this culture. Even if it's not a best-selling book, if it's dope and it's worth a read, we're gonna get it on right here on The Read Along. Please like and subscribe. So, our book that is featured for this week on The Read Along is the Queen herself, and she's still my first lady of these United States of America, Michelle Obama. Her new best-selling book is entitled Becoming Michelle Obama. That's a dope title, by the way. So, let's get into it. We're gonna skip around a little bit. Chapter 1. I spent much of my childhood listening to the sound of striving. It came in the form of bad music, or at least amateur music, coming up through the floorboards of my bedroom. The plink, plink, plink of students sitting downstairs at my great aunt Robbie's piano, slowly and imperfectly learning their scales. My family lived in the South Shore neighborhood of Chicago, in a tiny brick bungalow that belonged to Robbie and her husband, Terry. My parents rented an apartment on the second floor, while Robbie and Terry lived on the first. Robbie was my mother's aunt and had been generous to her over many years, but to me, she was kind of a terror, prim and serious. She directed the choir at our local church and was also our community's resident piano teacher. She wore sensible heels and kept a pair of reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She had a sly smile but didn't appreciate sarcasm the way my mother did. I sometimes hear her chewing out her students for not having practiced enough, or chewing out their parents for delivering them late the lessons. Good night, she'd exclaim in the middle of the day with the same blast of expiration someone else might say, "Oh, for God's sake." Few it seemed could live up to Robbie's standards. The sound of the people trying, however, became the soundtrack to our life. There was plinking in the afternoons, plinking in the evenings. Ladies from church sometimes came over to practice hymns, belting their pity through our walls. Under Robbie's rules, kids who took piano lessons were allowed to work on only one song at a time. From my room, I listened to them attempting, note by uncertain note, to win her approval. Graduating from Hot Cross Buns to Bram's Lullaby, but only after many tries. The music was never annoying, it was just persistent. It crept up the stairwell that separated our space from Robbie's. It drifted through open windows in summertime, accompanying my thoughts as I played with my Barbies or built little kingdoms made out of blocks. The only respite came from when my father got home from an early shift at the city's water treatment plant and put the Cubs game on the TV, boosting the volume just enough to blot it all out. This was the tail end of the 1960s on the south side of Chicago. The Cubs weren't bad, but they weren't great either. I sit on my dad's lap in his recliner and listen to him narrate how the Cubs were in the middle of a late season swoon, or why Billy Williams, who lived just around the corner from us on Constance Avenue, had such a sweet swing from the left side of the plate. Outside the ballpark, America was in the midst of a massive and uncertain shift. The Kennedys were dead. Martin Luther King Jr. had been killed standing on the balcony in Memphis, setting off riots across the country, including in Chicago. The 1968 Democratic National Convention turned bloody as police went after Vietnam War protesters with batons and tear gas in Grant Park, about 9 miles north of where we live. White families, meanwhile, were moved out of the city in droves, lured by the suburbs, the promise of better schools, more space, and probably more whiteness too. None of this really registered with me. I was just a kid, a girl with Barbies and blocks, with 2 parents and an older brother who slept each night with his head about 3 feet from mine. My family was my world, the center of everything. My mother taught me how to read early, walking me to the public school, sitting with me as I sounded out words on a page. My father went to work every day dressed in the blue uniform of a city laborer, but at night he showed us what it meant to love jazz and art. As a boy, he'd taken classes at the Art Institute of Chicago, And in high school, he painted and sculpted. He been a competitive swimmer and boxer in school too. And as an adult was a fan of every televised sport, from professional golf to the NHL. He appreciated seeing strong people excel. When my brother Craig got interested in basketball, my father propped coins above the door frame in our kitchen, encouraging him to leap for them. Everything that mattered was within 5 blocks radius. My grandparents and cousins, the church on the corner where we were not quite regulars at Sunday school, the gas station where my mother sometimes sent me to pick up a pack of Newports in the liquor store, which also sold Wonder Bread, penny candy, and gallons of milk. On hot summer nights, Craig and I dozed off to the sound of cheers from the adult league softball game going on at the nearby public park, where by day we climbed on the playground jungle gym and played tag with other kids. Craig and I are not quite 2 years apart in age. He's got my father's soft eyes and optimistic spirit, and my mother's implacability. The two of us have always been tight, in part thanks to an unwavering and somewhat inexplicable allegiance he seemed to feel for his baby sister right from the start. There's an early family photograph, a black and white, of the 4 of us sitting on the couch. My mother smiling as she holds me on her lap. My father appearing serious and proud with Craig perched on his. We're dressed for church or maybe a wedding. I'm about 8 months old, a pudge-faced, no-nonsense bruiser in diapers and an ironed white dress, looking ready to slide out of my mother's clutches, staring down at the camera as if I might eat it. Next to me is Craig, gentlemanly in a little bow tie and suit jacket, bearing an earnest expression. He's 2 years old and already the portrait of brotherly vigilance and responsibility. His arm extended toward mine, his fingers wrapped protectively around my fat wrist. At the time the photo was taken, we were living across the hall from my father's parents in Parkway Gardens, an affordable housing project on the south side, made up of modernist apartment buildings. It had been built in the 1950s and was designed as a co-op meant to ease a post-World War II housing shortage for black working-class families. Later, it would deteriorate under the grind of poverty and gang violence, becoming one of the city's more dangerous places to live. Long before this, though, when I was still a toddler, my parents, who had met as teenagers and married in their mid-20s, accepted an offer to move a few miles south to Robbie and Terry's place in a nicer neighborhood. See, that's why it's good to read books like this. You really get to learn about our public figures, you know, especially somebody as important as Michelle Obama in our culture and in our society, period. Being the woman she is today, you never would have expected that she was born into, you know, the type of living situation she was in. That goes to show you right there. It's not about where you been, it's where you're going. Let's get back into it. Chapter 8. I've been hired into the firm's marketing and intellectual property practice group, which was considered internally more freewheeling and creative than other groups. I suppose because we dealt at least some of the time with advertising. Part of my job involving poring over scripts for our clients' TV and radio ads, making sure they didn't violate Federal Communications Commission standards. I would later be awarded the honor of looking after the legal concerns of Barney the Dinosaur. Yes, this is what passes for freewheeling in a law firm. The problem for me was that a junior associate, my work didn't involve much actual interaction with clients, and I was a Robinson, raised in the boisterous scrum of an extended family, molded by my father's instinctive love of a crowd. I craved interaction of any sort. To offset the solitude, I joked around with Lorraine, my assistant, a hyper-organized, good-humored African-American woman several years my senior who sat just outside my office and answered my phone. I had friendly professional relationships with some of the senior partners and perked up at any chance I had to chit-chat with my fellow associates. But in general, everyone was overloaded with work and careful not to waste one billable minute of the day, which put me back at my desk along with my documents. If I had to spend 70 hours a week somewhere, My office was a pleasant enough place. I looked at my watch. Any sign of this guy? I called to Lorraine. Her sigh was audible. Girl, no. She called back. She was amused, I could tell. She knew how tardiness drove me nuts. How I saw it as nothing but hubris. Barack Obama had already created a stir at the firm. For one thing, he just finished his first year of law school, and normally we only hire second-year students for summer positions. But rumor had it he was exceptional. Word had spread that one of his professors at Harvard, the daughter of a managing partner, claimed he was the most gifted law student she ever encountered. Some of the secretaries who seen the guy come in for his interview were saying that on top of his apparent brilliance, he was also cute. Uh-oh. I was skeptical of all of it. In my experience, you put a suit on any half-intelligent black man and white people tended to go bonkers. I was doubtful he earned the hype. I check out his photo in the summer edition of our staff directory. Less than flattering, poorly lit headshot of a guy with a big smile and a whiff of geekiness, and remained unmoved. His bio said he was originally from Hawaii, which made him a comparatively exotic geek. Otherwise, nothing stood out. The only surprise had come weeks earlier when I made a quick obligatory phone call to introduce myself. I've been pleasantly startled by the voice on the other end of the line. A rich, sexy baritone that didn't even seem to match his photo one bit. It was another 10 minutes before he checked in at the reception area on our floor, and I walked out to meet him. Finding him seated on the couch, one Barack Obama, dressed in a dark suit and a still little damp from the rain. He grinned sheepishly and apologized for his lateness as he shook my hand. He had a wide smile and was taller and thinner than I imagined he'd be. A man who was clearly not much of an eater, who also looked fully unaccustomed to wearing business clothes. If he knew he was arriving with a whiz-kid reputation, it didn't show. Man, Michelle was giving Barack a hard time, as you can see. Like, Michelle did not care, she did not care about the reputation. We already don't even supposed to be hiring you, so you're being rude, so hey, I'm not impressed. As I walked him through the corridors to my office, introducing him to the modernities of corporate law, showing him the word processing center and the coffee machine, explaining our system for tracking billable hours, he was quiet and deferential, listening attentively. After about 20 minutes, I delivered him to the senior partner who'd be his actual supervisors for the summer. That go to show you, as I'm reading this and how she described Barack Obama, I can truly tell early on in their relationship, she saw something in him, even way back then when they were just young in their 20s, way before any of the big titles came along. That goes to show you, real, true love still exists. I don't know if it still exists today, but it seemed like back in those days, it was way easier to find real, true love for some reason. But that's a whole nother subject. And I gotta say, I'm enjoying this book. I gotta give Michelle Obama 5 stars. And this book is available right now on Amazon and all your reading platforms if you want to go check it out. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Read Along. So tune in more next week. We got another book coming. Keep tuning in. Keep reading along with me. Let me know what book you would like for me to read and review, and we'll get it on here. That wraps up another episode. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please let me know what book you would like for me to read out loud and review for future episodes. And whatever you do, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button. So until next time, big salute. It's the Read Along, baby. Ha ha.